Our other top story, the passing of our colleague Barabara Walters at the age of 93. Here's our Robin Roberts with a look at Barbara's extraordinary life and legacy.
She was a reporter, a trailblazer, and a star.
Are you ready?
We're rolling.
We're all set? Okay, here we go. Ready? You ready? You ready?
Barabara Walters, our Barbara, was effortlessly stylish, endlessly fearless, and never afraid to ask the question many wanted answered.
You found yourself alone with Bill Clinton in the Chief of Staff's office, and you lifted the back of your jacket and you showed the President of the United States your thong underwear. Where did you get the nerve? I mean, who does that?
Over 60 years of broadcasting, she used the question mark to build a legendary career.
You are the apple of my eye.
Did you get married to prove that you were not gay?
No, I got married because I didn't confront the real problem in my life, that I was a drug addict.
Can I ask you something very directly, which may seem rude? In our country, we read that you are unstable. We read that you are mad. You know that those things have been printed. Why do you think this is? Other leaders are disliked, but they're not as controversial as you are.
She interviewed everybody we wanted to hear from.
There are those who would say that you add to the attention.
No, I don't.
Well, the masks, the mysterious behavior.
There's no mysterious behavior.
Why did you kill John Lennon?
I thought by killing him, I would acquire his fame.
You cry on this program, I won't run any of it. You promised me you wouldn't cry.
In the new business of television, the screen was glass, and so too was the ceiling. Barbara broke through both and became the most important woman pioneer in the history of TV news.
The fact that I ended up on television, I never ever thought that would happen.
She began working in television in the early 50s, at a time when nearly half the homes in the country didn't even own one. She got her start off camera at local stations in New York, working her way up to a job as a writer on NBC's Today Show.
I was a writer on the Today Show. They had to have one female writer. She did the tea pouring, as I call it. She did the fashion shows. She did the celebrities.
What lit up the newsrooms of New York and eventually the television screens across America was the torch of her 1,000-watt ambition and her unmistakable talent. Barabara Walters proved that there was room on the small screen for more than just men.
Barbara is with me right now to give us a filmed report. Would you tell me, was this a very trying experience for you?
Frank, it was awful. I mean, first of all, every day I had to go and look at fashion shows.
Oh.
And then I had to have lunch at Maxime's and drink champagne.
Oh.
And then I had to smell all the perfume at Dior.
Oh.
I mean, it was so trying that I took absolutely the very last plane I could to get back here today.
At first, most of the work she was assigned to do was less than serious.
We're going to be talking about something very feminine right now, fashion. This year, vinyl is the most exciting new fashion fabric. It was the prevalence of pants.
As the Today reporter, I did several stories. One was a day in the life of a Playboy bunny.
It's like a ballet movement, kind of.
But her first on-air report on a national news event came on an historic day in November of 1963. The new medium of television and the new reporter coming of age during a nation's heartbreak.
One group of young men kept a very special vigil. These are the honor guards who have been guarding the casket of President Kennedy.
Soon she became a regular.
Good morning. I'm Frank McGee, and Barabara Walters is here.
Frank McGee went to the head of the network and said that I could not ask the hard news questions. They all had to be done by him. And what they finally decided to do was that he could ask 4 questions, and then I could come in and ask 1. If I could do the interview outside of the studio, it was mine. So I started to look for interviews outside of the studio.
Mr. Secretary, this brings up one of the criticisms about you today, and that is that people say Henry Kissinger deals in excessive secrecy. When you were a child and you were different from the other kids, did they make fun of you? What are you the least tolerant of these days?
Lies or foolishness about me. The only mistake I ever did, the only harm I ever did was sing Over the Rainbow.
How would you like future generations to remember General Eisenhower?
There's certain fundamentals, and that's honesty, integrity. And that's what I hope they'll remember.
This morning, we mourn the death of our dear friend and our most respected colleague, Frank McGee. When Frank McGee died, I became co-host. From then on, I think up to today, the women on the morning shows are co-hosts. That's a nice legacy to have.
As the first woman co-host of a morning show, the other networks took note. So in 1976, ABC, trailing in the ratings behind the other two networks, sought to raise its profile by luring away one of its competitors' biggest star. The last place network came calling with an offer she could not refuse. It would change her life and the business of TV news.
Barabara Walters, who has been on the NBC Today program for 13 years, signed a contract with ABC Today.
It was more than double the salary of the most famous anchor of the day, Walter Cronkite.
Her contract for a rumored $1 million a year specifies that she'll co-anchor the ABC Evening News, among other network appearances.
Walters becomes the first woman to be an evening news anchor on network television and the highest paid journalist.
In those days, nobody thought it was possible.
Harry Reasoner, Barabara Walters, bring you the news.
I have a new colleague to welcome. Barbara?
Thank you, Harry.
The brash woman from another network's morning show, making more money than the man who had been happy doing the job alone. Not exactly a recipe for success.
I've kept time on your stories and mine tonight. You owe me 4 minutes.
Harry Reasoner did not want a partner, and he certainly didn't want a woman.
He wasn't joking. The reluctant partnership became a national punchline.
I have to shoot an arrow into Barabara Walters.
You mean you're making her fall in love with Harry Reasoner?
No, Harry just paid me to shoot her.
Just didn't care.
Stay away.
Okay, nice to see you. How about it?
I remember reading the headline in one of the papers, Barabara Walters' failure. At the same time, I was doing these specials, which had been an afterthought. Countdown, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Barabara Walters Special.
The specials saved my life because they took on a role of their own. People liked them. What's the biggest misconception about you?
I think the biggest misconception is that I'm a bitch, maybe, if people think that.
Now, why do they think that? Why do you?
Because I'm just like you. I have standards.
I interviewed Fidel Castro and spent almost a week with him. Also, I spent a great deal of time in the Middle East and did the first and almost the only interview that the Prime Minister of Israel, Menachem Begin, did with President Anwar Sadat of Egypt. They had never talked together before until this interview.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barabara Walters, and this is 2020.
It would become her home for the next 25 years. And she broke yet another record with the most watched television news interview of all time.
Did you ever tell Bill Clinton that you were in love with him?
Yes.
You did. What did he say?
He said that means a lot to me.
Did he ever tell you that he was in love with you?
No.
There was no question, it seemed, she wouldn't ask.
I'm going to ask you a terrible question. Did you ever order anyone killed?
Нет.
Are you sorry you didn't burn the tapes?
Yes, I think so, because they were private conversations subject to misinterpretation, as we have all seen.
Whether ex-presidents, sitting presidents, or future presidents, none escaped the tough question.
Shall we begin the torture?
Yes, that's why we chose you.
You maintained your courteous relationship, even your friendship, over these years with President Nixon. That if he killed any of the hostages, you would then attack militarily.
Absolutely.
We are on the verge of a recession, if we're not already there. We see our educational program failing. We see our competitiveness in doubt. Do you feel any responsibility for this?
Are you sorry that you ever said, read my lips, no new taxes? Mr. President, how important is it for the president to be a role model? Was it worth it if there were no weapons of mass destruction? Now we know that that was wrong. Was it worth it? Mr. President, there are some folks who say that you squandered your political capital with the health care plan when you should have been focusing on jobs. How can you unify the country when you make these divisive statements?
But while best known for her interviews, she was also a cornerstone of our ABC News division, covering breaking news events for close to 4 decades.
We would not under any circumstances think of doing this broadcast without Barabara Walters. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, Peter. This is, as you have said, a unique ceremony. It is unprecedented in history. I want you to wake up the kids, because this is the kind of thing they're not going to see again for like another 20 or 30 years.
But the show she may have been most proud of was the pioneering daytime talk show, The View.
There had not been a show with a group of people sitting together and talking unscripted. It's a great place to express yourself, give opinions, show the kind of person you really are.
In 2010, Barbara shared a hot topic of her own.
Later this week, I'm going to have surgery to replace one faulty heart valve. I have known of this condition for a while now, and my doctors and I have decided that this is the best time to do the surgery. And since the summer is coming up, I can take a nice vacation.
The surgery went off without a hitch, but that vacation was cut short when a VIP forced her to return earlier than expected.
We were the first daytime talk show to have a sitting president as a guest.
Look, I was trying to find a show that Michelle actually watched.
The View has shown that women can be together and enjoy each other and have the kind of conversations that you may have in the morning with a girlfriend.
We want to give our kudos to Barabara Walters. This is the house that Barabara Walters built.
You know, looking back, perhaps Barabara Walters put it best.
I have been blessed with a life I never expected. And helping me up the steps of the ladder over the years have been hundreds of people.
Any newswoman on TV walks in formidable footsteps and is without question in her debt.
Because you're really the reason why we're all here. You're the reason why I wanted to be in television.
And many of us paid tribute to her in person when she retired from The View in 2014.
And we all proudly stand on your shoulders, Barabara Walters, as we honor you. Please welcome Diane Sawyer, Robin Roberts, Lara Spencer.
I never set out to be a trailblazer. I never said, I'm going to do this, you know, for women, but I guess it's what had to be done. And as for the women who followed me, I'm very supportive of women. I know what the women on the air have gone through, and I've kind of become a sort of unofficial advisor. If they make it, I get all the credit. I want to be remembered in television, maybe as a creator, maybe as a good newswoman. No, more than being remembered, I hope that by younger women, I can help them aspire. I just want to say, this is my legacy. These are my legacy, and I thank you all.
And I would say she achieved that. We all grew up wanting to be her. Don't miss a 2-hour special edition of 2020 airing Sunday at 8 p.m. Our Barbara, her friends and colleagues, and Barbara herself reflecting on her life and legacy.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.